Hey guys, this is Mikro again. I thought I would do a video on how to do a VOD review and go through a VOD that I haven't shown publicly, but will make public after today, where we, as East Coast EG, are able to beat Supple. That we were not able to consistently beat them, but we had this specific roster, which was like kind of a super roster before people started transferring off the server on. We were able to actually beat them. So I thought I would go through that. And because I talked about how VODs are so important from the other video. In terms of like notes with VODs, and like from an Overwatch perspective, this is how many notes I can take after like one block and do sometimes if it's a good enough player. Like this guy that I was VOD reviewing is probably going to be an owl shortly, so he'll be pro. So I gave him like a lot of stuff, and this would be after like roughly an hour and a half of gameplay. And then from a Overwatch or like from a New World perspective, uh like I've get sent sometimes like people's VODs and I review them because that's how we do it, so we don't all have to watch like hours upon hours upon hours of VODs. And then I'll type up notes, and it's like a decent amount of notes. Like I don't usually go through like an entire VOD if I'm evaluating, and I'm sure other companies do that too, but you can kind of get an idea within even like 30 seconds to a minute if a player's good, and then if they aren't good, you can figure out what's wrong with them fairly quickly. Like that takes me like 5 to 10 minutes, and then if they implement fixes, then they'll be a good player. But if they can't implement fixes, then they might not be. So it's like stuff like that. And it's not saying that like we're necessarily right, but like usually people that are doing VODs are people that have like watched a lot of gameplay, and then you see what the people that are generally considered to be the best do, and then you try to teach other people how to do those things or show that off, which is why I like it in this format more, because then there's other people that I've done VOD reviews with Overwatch where I'll just integrate like links to YouTube videos of like what pros are doing in a very similar situation, or and like kind of draw all over the map and have fun with that. But I'm not gonna do that live because this I know will be longer anyway, because I'm probably gonna pause to talk about things. And this is pretty. I haven't like looked through this VOD in a while. I don't think I bought the stats I did like insanely well, but I know that for this war they put me on dedi point as IGVG, which is something I don't recommend doing. Uh, and like it's possible to play it, it's just very hard to play it well. And I think I definitely felt that there. But yeah, I'll get to it, and then I'll point out things along the way of like kind of talk about what I'm doing. This is like a month old, so I have made some like updates to my gameplay at this point.
Get this, boys and girls.
Like, let me see if I could find a picture of the loadout. So loadout wise, uh, this this is like does this get less blurry? So 265 int. This is a normal build for like int focus con. I'm pretty sure I use a different VG tree in this than what I normally do. Like what I would do now. And the gem split I would do now would be either 10-10, or I would do a little bit more physical because I'd be playing on point. And this is also like during a time period I was using infused fire absorption pots to specifically tech against blunderbuss, so I didn't have to like, because I didn't have a amulet that had like fire absorption, and I was worried about just getting one shot by blunderbuss because supple had really good ones. But then I noticed versus like supple I was dying more to melee than the blunderbuss himself, so I tried to switch my setup a little bit. Which, if people don't know supple, they're the company that's like won on East for 4 months straight. We think we were able to beat them twice, and then they immediately took back those territories because we couldn't defend, because they're very good. But we were the only company in the game in the last 4 months to actually beat supple, except for Euphorium if you count that. But then Euphorium quit, and then no one else was able to do that. And I think that was 4 months ago. Uh, so yeah, and then this is like IGVG tree. Pop bar wise, this is, you see these in all the videos I run. I run the food, honing stone, obviously. I run mana food. The mana food isn't as necessary with this as it is with IGBB, so you could drop that if you wanted to, but it's really cheap. And I don't think the damage increase is that significant. From Invigorated Punishment, if you use Fire Absorption Pots, I probably wouldn't do that. The reason why I was doing it at the time, and there is like a reason to use them, is it's a 30% it's a 15% ward for 30 seconds that's unconditional, meaning it won't get removed very quickly. So my thought process with using those was, well, if a BB hits me, it's going to count as like 6 shots, right? And like a dust was like the expensive dust will last for 18 shots. So if a BB shoots me 3 times, that dust is just gone and it's worthless. So I was like, okay, I'll just use the infused fire absorption pot because it will last longer. It'll be more consistent, and it definitely felt good. But then there's like other times where like a melee would get on you, and the melee has like a amber gem in or something like weird like that, so it gets around resist, and that's when you like really want the dust. So
Let's get this, boys and girls.
okay, I actually did run out with the infused fire absorption. I'm pretty sure I swap in the middle of this war.
Lock it the fuck in. They're heavy bonfire side again. They only have 10 on Oppo, so that means you guys should shit on them, Oppo. Ice shower center road.
So the beginnings, supple naturally just creates a lot of pressure. I'm just looking for really big clumps and trying to like kind of put my damage into those before we get on point. I don't want to go on point too early, because if I go to point too early, then I'm just going to be 1v like 10 to 15 and just insta-die. So it's like some positioning stuff. Like you see me playing like very loose and playing split from people so I don't get one shot, and you still see people like turning and going for me, but I'm able to like dodge most of that. When I go into block, I'm trying to get out of block very quick, because if I stay in block, then they're going to surround me and body block me, so I can't get out of the block very quick and then kill me. And that's something I noticed that supple does, so I use block versus supple more as an iframe ability. Left side's actually like very favored for them.
Yeah, we gotta take it closer, guys.
So now I see all my teams on the right side, a lot of supples on the left side, but as IGVG, I don't want to be going into that one clump on the left side because I'll just insta-die. So I'm going to play like through my team and try to kill the people my team is killing, while also trying to play away from those big clumps, because if I get near them, I'll just die.
Look at Oppo right now. I got grenades coming down.
You see me like do that, the jump I think was bad, but, or like the dodge, because now I'm like kind of low on the stand bar, but I'm eating for refreshing harvest like very often to try to get those cooldowns up, to dump those cooldowns to help my melees get kills.
On top of that, Mipro's in there as well.
Like this is the SNS guy I was talking about before. He is very annoying. He'll just stun you and then he'll just not shoot you, so you're just AFK on the point for like 5 seconds, and he has like all these like weird techs. But that's a guy that definitely separates supple from other people, I think, in my opinion. Other people think he's like a troll slot, but I think it's actually pretty smart.
Good job, you're doing a good job. Obliv, top point.
You see, I'm the only Obliv on this whole point. Like, no one else is actually playing Dedi with me. If I'm listening to the comms at the same time, I'm pretty sure you guys could hear them too, but I'm calling where all my abilities are going. I'm like trying to play with my melee, but I can't really play with my melee, because if I play super tight on my melee, we're going to make a clump, and then supple's going to hit that and kill us. So I'm playing split, and as a Dedi, if you're like a squishy player, you always want to be like split from where the ball is and just playing on a point where it's like kind of safe. And this is what healers do too. When they get on the point, it's like they always look for a spot that's like kind of safe. Otherwise, they won't get on. So like what I'm doing is like fairly common practice for a lot of builds. The reason why I'm dodging there the first time was to drop for the opal to proc and the ice gauntlet, which will make the storm do 15% more damage the entire duration of the ice storm, which is why people run the opal. The second dodge I think was bad. The third dodge I think was really bad because now I'm Grey Bard, and being Grey Bard is like a death sentence.
Sacred's bottom left on my thing. I'm on it.
Yeah. No one punishes me because no one's like where I'm playing now, because my positioning's really good. The iframe was obviously good.
Healer. Play AoEs, no healer.
I'm screaming the right clump. So now I know they're gonna crash soon because we're ticking at like 25%. So I'm trying to hold more cooldowns. Like I'm trying to hold the ice shower specifically because I think ice shower is really good for preventing people to get on the point and really good at preventing people from getting off a point, and ends up getting a lot of kills.
Sacred middle point. I'm on the sacred right now.
Turning backline for a second.
That's a greedy ice shower. I'm just dumping it to dump it, and then I'm also dumping it to get the haste to move over here to line up for the VG stuff, which is like very nitpicky and something that I think only I do and not a lot of other people do. And I think it's like kind of a mistake, but also dumping ice shower more often is good. I think the big mistake though was I dumped ice shower and I didn't use the ice storm in the ice shower to get the refreshing frost perk to proc to get the like +6 cooldown, or like 6 seconds off my next ice shower, if that makes sense. Like that was a mistake. That Oblivion's like pretty good. Now I'm just like AFKing, trying to live for a second, waiting for a clump to appear. I like that clump going. I could see supple's crashing. I could see that we're like just not on point. And then also our macro call, which I talked about before in the other video, which at this point we didn't iterate upon it as much. You know, it was a month ago, but it's changed a little bit. It's like we all run over to that other point.
40-10, 40-10, 40-10. Get there, get there.
And you hear that in the comms there for the 40-10 call.
Know what you're doing. Everybody right now, throw down a fucking ice storm and slow them from getting there. Throw down your ice showers. Use some of those cooldowns to prevent them from getting there. Get to
If you could hear the comms, they're basically saying to just slow people down as we go. So we're trying to prevent them from rotating as we rotate. Supple at this point knows our strat because we've done our strat basically every single time, and it's also worked almost every single time. So they expect it and they know how to soft counter it, but they still weren't able to consistently beat it.
C as quickly as possible. Get on fucking top of it. Start spinning it. Remember, if you die on C, you are going
My thought
down.
process now is if these guys are on me, they're not rotating, so it's actually value. So I'm going to cut back into them. The reason why I don't rotate with them is because I know they want to get over to that C point, right? So if I run over there and they're chasing me, they'll just like hit me because it's like, okay, I can go to the C point and hit micro. So that's like a lot of value. But if I run away from them, now they have to decide, am I going to C point or am I going to go chase this guy? And if they chase me, then I'm baiting 3 people off of C point. So it's like a bad trade for them. So they know they have to leave me. So they just like path me and then they leave and they miss the path. And then I'm like perfectly fine over here and I can just keep running through.
Try to loop, but we're sitting on the left side of the point from our orientation if we're casters. I got grenades on their side left.
You see me like tilting my camera down. I tilt my camera down to see if there's like anything like on the ground here that I can't like normally render. That's like just a new world thing. But top-down view is like very nice sometimes.
Look at blind side.
I get hit with exhaustive net, which means that Malachite will do more damage to me, and if he has 200 strength, perk will also do more damage to me. So now I have to be really careful, but I don't want to use my last cleanse pot because I only have one cleanse pot because we weren't able to win the point over there. So I'm like in a very dangerous spot right now where I have to like really save this cleanse pot. Normally you'd like want a pre-pot before you go into clumps, but when I have my last like 2 to 3, I usually use them as a get out of jail card. Just because I think I'll need them when the actual crash happens, and I want to be in a spot where I'm not just like auto dead if we actually get to a 75% tick on C. But if we don't get to that 75% tick, then it's like, and I use that, and then we get to 75% tick, and I don't have that, then we're gonna lose. So I just play for the win con of like, hey, I want to play to like actually win the C point, so I just will hold that as long as I can. If I have to use it to live, I'll use it to live, but I will hold it for a very long time. So I drop ice there so that they can't back out towards our team that way without running into the ice, which will cause them to use more stam and be easier to get killed. The scream is pretty standard. You see me playing in spots constantly that are like safer, but still like in the fight, and I'm still taking point. And that's because I'm a dedi point as IGVG, which is, you could play it, and there's a few people that play it. Like I'm pretty sure Chunk plays this way, and I play it this way, but it's definitely not as common because it's a lot harder to live. So I'm like really reaching for the scream here. I think this is actually really bad. Like I could very easily die because I reached for that scream, and I had to burn my last cleanse pot. So now because I don't have my cleanse spot, I know if I go in there, I'm just going to instantly die, but I also know the heals are there if I go in there. So I'm like in a rough spot where I can't really be healed. So I'm just trying to like pull people's aggro and prevent people from leaving this clump, and if people leave this clump, I'm going to kill them, and when we get very, very, very close, like 90%, then I'm going to get on point no matter what, so that we can get the tick. So I'm playing loose. By loose, I mean I'm not going at any clumps. You see, I'm in like this is why I like IGVG on the edge of point, because it's very easy to set up for these screams and to catch people who are trying to leave clumps or like stuck in clumps. And then I'm also zoning people like this healer from getting on the point because I'm playing over here. I barely get my stuff off there. You see, we don't actually win versus the crash. But then we're doing this thing where, okay, we died on C, right? Like, anyone that was dying on C here, we made the call to go to B before. So now their entire army is committed to C, and we're just taking B for free.
Good spin on B, good spin on B. You guys have to
so now my job, because we can't win C, is to prevent them from rotating to B as long as possible and live, so that if they do rotate to B, I can start getting the C tick. So I'm just playing life. That's a standard scream, standard obliv. I get screamed as well, which is why I had to use my iframes and gray bar. Which isn't good, but I had to do it for that situation specifically. You see me jumping a lot. The reason why I jump is, when you jump, you don't gen stamina anymore. I used to be able to gen stamina, so it was like one of the most OP techs in the world for living. now it's still worth it at times because jump doesn't like the slows don't apply when you jump, but they apply when you dodge and do all those other abilities. So you can jump to get further away and create more distance and live sometimes where you would not be able to. It also is like harder for the melees to like actually hit you when you're jumping for some reason. Like there's some netcode issues there. So it's just a good tech in general. That gray bar, it was basically just to be not in that clump, which I think was worth it. I still have my ice showers, or my ice tomb, so I could be a little bit more aggressive, but I think the ice shower is a safer get out than the ice tomb at this point. So you see we get the B point for free because we had C pressure and then they all rotate off to B. And what this also did, because they rotated off to B and they didn't fully detick C, is now we have 50% on 50% tick on C. So now my job has changed. I'm trying to save the tick on C, or as much as I can, as well as playing life for when our crash happens, because we're going to be outnumbered for a bit. And then after that, we'll outnumber them. So like this is like very micro oriented, but like all of that like game sense stuff is like something that separates like those top players, and that's something that you won't get until you get very good, and it's like not as important as the positioning aspect of like, hey, how is Meeker like living here? It's like I'm living because I'm not playing where the melee is, but I'm still able to actually range and hit the melee at times. It's just I don't want to be in there all the time with this build.
Look at these rotates, stop them.
You also see at the bottom here where I have the 4 Empower stacks, that's from that amulet, the Champion's amulet, and it's very good, because that's like a 16% damage bonus.
Yeah, stop that rotate position towards bonfire. Position towards bonfire.
Didn't iframe that, unfortunately. I'm calling out the Void Blade guy. I talked about this in the other video. Supple has a Void Blade guy. He's very good if he's uncontested, but if everyone just screams him over and over again, he just feeds his ass off and just dies.
They have to crash you. They have to crash.
Look at top right. Look at top right.
And that's the Void Blade player right in front of me, like Damien or something like that.
They
So I specifically look at that guy a lot, because I don't want him to farm the rest of my team. I know that they're crashing now, so I'm planning to control the edge of point, and then I'm going to get on when it gets very close. So now it's very close, so I'm going to get on point. And now I can't be on point and live, so I have to get off point.
Fight opposite, fight opposite, fight opposite.
I dropped that for the extra damage bonus, which seems really stupid.
We take it, get on.
So now I'm like lit 1. I'm using my iframes to get on the point and to live. I know I'm going to die like instantly, but we are so close where it doesn't matter if I die. I need to get that extra percent, that extra tick.
Everyone on.
Step in. All in this. All in this. All in this. Press up into their side. Grenades on center.
Respawn just went out. Respawn just went out.
We're still ticking. We're still ticking.
So now we're trying to save our tick. We're matching respawn for respawn. This is something of like, this is the reason why I don't think holding C is as good anymore. Because in this situation, we actually have closer spawns to C than the war camp people have to C. So we could save the tick here on C versus if it was at B, they would have closer spawns to B and we would have further spawns. So I think for that specific reason, B is generally a better last point defense if it's going to be a close word and you're going to have a recontest. But if you could just hold C and like not let them get close, it can be very strong to have this as a last, because it's like hard to do this rotate to C. But if you don't get established, then holding C can be a bait, and you can just steamroll it once you get B.
Alright, I'm gonna go for a hero play and scream at everyone in the back line.
So I'm going for a suicide play at this point. I'm dropping a shower. I'm dropping a shower here so they can't back out. People can't charge out of this clump. If they charge out, they're going to get stuck in my shower and die. I'm not dropping it on the point because I don't think that's as useful there. Because those people are in the point anyway. I think you kill more people by catching them when they leave the point. So now you see me like on the edge of point here. I'm barely on because I'm not that tanky. I'm doing this refreshing harvest to get my cooldowns to drop them. I know I'm going to be very low, but I want to win before they get their crash off. I'm like barely alive here. I'm still, now I'm not on, now I'm on. I'm trying to play this very edge. Now I'm like body blocking almost. And we barely get that, and then I die. So it's like that's why I don't want to be in the clump, because this build just dies, but you have to play in the clump if you're a dedi point, or like you have to be like kind of like in this situation there's no way to not be in a clump and be on point, so I have to like kind of sacrifice myself. And that's what companies expect when they call an all-in. They expect everyone to do this, including healers. And they do that so they get that like extra tick or two, and it doesn't just stagger out and die. And that's an opportunity where you have to kill those squishy people, and I'm one of those squishy people, and people know that, so they're going to target me and try to kill me.
Spot to get there fast enough to get that off. Oh shit, that's scary.
Get kills here.
So that was like very tight,
Respawns are an 8.
but we still got it.
Focusing this gate. Yo, if you could call group numbers for me, I don't know.
Supple's preventing us from getting the cleanse buys, which we want to get before we go to fort because we've been starved on cleanse buys this entire time. What a lot of people do now is they just won't get the cleanse buy. They won't actually go for the cleanse buy, and they'll just tempo to fort, and then they'll break this, and then they'll split off, and that's when you actually do the cleanse buy. That's ideal. This is not ideal.
Healers hit the gate.
So now I'm trying
Heavy
to
autos
help
on the gate.
people get the cleanse buy off before I get on it. And yeah, they're doing a good job at preventing this. If I was on BB, I could kill these guys. I'm not on BB, so I can't really kill these guys very effectively.
Yep. We have huge advantage if we can take that shit down right now. Don't get caught up on this gate. Get your fucking cleanse later. We don't have fucking repair shop. Push up. Fuck that step husband group.
The
Get
gate
fucking
dies.
gate.
Everyone auto gates. All range on the gates.
I played for the cleanse buys because I'm a dedi point, and if I don't have cleanse buys, I just die, and you saw that the last fight. So it's not ideal, but it's like for my specific role, you kind of need those or you won't be able to live. That guy, I'm just preventing him from getting towards his team. He has to back into my back line, which was where our decks are, where he'll be more likely to die. Which is why I shower that way.
Somebody with the new rate plan up, tell them.
I dropped the cooldowns in this way because you use the scream, which gives you the 30% in power or whatever, and then from there they have the disease on them, and then I'm stripping the whatever buffs they have, and then after that I'm throwing the orb for the damage. I think that there might be, it's not like always optimal. I think if you scream, you almost want to like wait for them to pop the cleanse, and then because people generally when they're rooted will pop the cleanse pot if they can. Well, it's not because of the disease, which is why scream is like less effective this patch and anyways. So you probably want to hold the Oblivion a little bit longer, actually, and then go for the cooldowns, like the Oblivion to Orb. Or if you have a melee with you, then this is a good combo because the melee can stun them after and or stagger them, and they won't be able to actually pot. So then the disease lasts on them and the root lasts on them, and that's really good. But if you don't have a melee, then this order I don't think is necessarily optimal. I low stam, so I'm below full stam, and then I'm in an obliv, so that applies a 35% in power, I believe, to the duration of my ice storm for this entire duration, so it's going to do a lot more damage. That being said, it's like mostly pad damage, but some of it matters. It's just like most of it will not. So at this point, they called for us to get through A for some reason. I don't really know why. I think people try to tempo it at first. Oh, this actually might be my gate. That makes more sense. Yeah, this is probably my gate. So I'm just trying to prevent them from getting the inside and then preventing them from getting the A repair.
Breaking war horns.
We're outnumbered on B.
So I'm trying to break the Warhorn while I can because most of this damage doesn't actually matter. I'm doing it these clumps, and the Warhorns we will have to get down at some point, so why not get them down now? This is an error I had at this time where I was using Void Gauntlet to break those, then later on we figured out the Ice Gauntlet was actually better at breaking Warhorns.
I think we probably repair shops first, and then we go horns, because if we get the repair shops down, they don't get cleansed by the rest of the board.
I think that speaks for itself what I just said. Cleanse buys go down first, and then go horns usually. They saw that cleanse buy was down. I'm getting shot by Dex, so I'm in a weird spot. I use that as an iframe. I probably could have held onto it longer, but I wanted to break this horn. I'm still getting shot by Dex. I have pots though, so I can still stay up here and I don't have to drop. I'm just trying to annoy the healers if I can, and also go for the horns.
If you're at these gates, you're taking fights close to the door. You're taking fights close to the door.
That's for Deadly Frost, which sounds very, very stupid, and also gives me the refresh on the Storm, which I could use to break the horns. I'm just going full pad on the horns. I'm probably gonna 1.25 this. This is pretty boring. There should be more people doing this. I don't know why people are not breaking the horns at the moment. Probably because they're trying to get through B, but...
Shit, I'm up top breaking horns right now. I can go down backside of B and stop the repair if you guys are still breaking it.
So this is like a bigger brain play. I know that they're repairing B, and I know I'm inside, so I'm going to sneak down here and shoot the guy who's repairing so that he can't repair B, so we can get in easier while breaking the B gate.
I'm stopping repair on B.
Good job, good job. What about those
And then I'm calling that out in macro comms. So this repair guy can't actually repair, and then he just fucks off. And he went through the gate because he realized I was there. And then this should be free.
Yeah, they can't repair B.
So because of those horns, I know if I even shoot this guy, it won't do anything because the horn buff is stupid, and I talked about that in the first video, I think, or maybe the second video I did.
They can't repair B. I'm behind it right now.
They can repair his way. Hit it. Good job, good job, good job.
I'm constantly dodging to proc the opal to do more damage than the ice got when I'm shooting the siege.
Second. There we go.
Alright, listen.
B gates
I'm showering so they can't get through, and then they're stuck here for a second. I'm gonna drop the Oblivion to do my combo.
down.
B gate is down. Listen, just until the right gate is down, I want only group 1 on B gate. I want only group 1 on B gate. The other group is assigned to this. Try to go help the right gate. Yeah. You should have 3 groups
So
on
now
right
I'm
gate.
thinking, okay, I got Warhorn here, I got Door here. Both those need to go down before we even think about getting the point. Also, we're at the 20 mark, so anything we do right now does not matter. We will not be able to win the war because Supple's actually good at the game. Some companies will lose the war at this point. If you lose that early, it's just a big ball diff. It should not happen. So it's all just about keeping these cleanse buy stations down because we got in with a significant amount of time, as well as getting the horns down.
Send it's for bait, right? That's here with us.
Here, I'm just trying to make the healers look at me
Repairs
and
on
or
C
have to
top.
move.
No
If they
repair
move,
on
they won't
C.
be healing as well.
Uzi, stay at B gate.
We're trying to help C get in. I'm just annoying people at this point. I'm not actually doing anything.
Let's push it.
Like, the VG doesn't do any damage, really, like, to single people, but it could definitely annoy people. Like, decks don't like being shot, so I'll shoot the decks.
Down. He's down.
Healers don't like being shot, so I'll shoot the healers. It also prevents them from getting that 50% healing bonus.
Yep, push. Everybody that just got in C gate right now, go
Back
up
E
top
is
so
like
we
kind of
can
protected
go
by muskets.
There's a couple on the
but
right
I'm
side.
going
We
for it.
don't have to rush towards point.
I'm gonna go
So
ahead.
now I'm, like, literally against a firing squad, so it's, like, sketchy.
Gotcha.
I'm just trying to buy time and try to get them to look at me, and then at a certain point I have to get off.
Everybody get in, get those fucking horns down. We have so much time. We have so much time.
This is a very greedy play. I don't know if I like this.
12 seconds on respawn.
Now I have to get under them. I get under them so that they have to drop down all the way to shoot me. If they run to the left here, they can still shoot me from up top. So now they would have to commit to jump down to shoot me, which they don't want to do because they want to be up top. So I'm making myself, like, as annoying of a target to chase as possible.
I'm living. I got regen pot up.
I popped a regen pot, but I have no healer in here, really. So I'm hopping into clumps to try to get the Sacred to heal up.
I'm telling you. Get up top, get back to 4 point. We're gonna
The call to get up top, we're doing a regroup.
press inside as a group. On the
I see them going over here, so that makes me think that this shop is up, so I'm trying to prevent them from getting the cleanse buys.
press inside at 18:30. If you're inside,
The shop's not actually up.
you're playing lives, you're getting up top. You're getting loose. All the horns are going. Exactly.
And then I die for that, but if that shop was up, that would have been the correct play, and it's just unfortunate that shop wasn't up, and I didn't have shower to get out of this.
I'm dead, but I
Yep, exactly.
broke the repair part before they can get the
next
cleanse
one
buys
is
off.
at 18:30. We're gonna push in at 18:20. So I just need
Make sure we keep
everybody
breaking the
playing
cleanse buy spots.
live.
As long as we keep breaking them, we're guaranteed to win this war.
I'm talking about how if we keep the cleanse buys down, we'll just win.
Spawns just went out.
Inside at 18:20. Push inside at 18:20. All right. 3, 2, 1. Give me a breach. Push. Everybody collectively. They shouldn't be able to allocate towards any one direction. Exactly. Push inside. Drop from the top.
B, I think, is my official gate. Earlier I thought it was A. I don't know why I didn't rotate to B there, but B is where I'm supposed to be. I am a deady point, so I'm putting pressure. So I don't always go on point, but as a deady point, but you go on point when you have the opportunity to tick. Like, if they have 10 people here and we have 0, I'm not going to go on point. I'm not going to be that first person to go on point. But if we have, like, 5 people here and they have 10 people, then I'll consider it, and I'll definitely look to get on point, and, like, vice versa. It's like, once there's an opportunity to tick, then I'll get on point. But if there's no opportunity to tick as a deady point, then you don't have to be on point. It's like it's a weird balance, but if you're on point too early, you'll just die. And if you're on point too late, then you're basically not a deady point.
We create advantage near point now. We create advantage near point.
This video is probably going to go longer, but war is long and VOD reviews take time. Like, if I'm actually going through this and taking notes, then this VOD will probably take me like an hour to an hour and 15 to get through, even though it's only like a 20-minute VOD.
Need help right now?
So I'm calling I need help. I'm telling my healer I need pocket, basically. He doesn't get the single target on me, so I die. But I'm giving him the opportunity to make that play and letting him know I need him to make that play if he wants me to live.
Yeah, can't do anything about that one.
And this is why you don't want to get on point too early, because if you get on point too early, you just instantly die to people like this.
Respawns are in 8 seconds.
I'm calling respawn out. We're timing with the respawns, because now people will actually die before the respawn, and then they'll try to kill people right after the respawns happen. We also have someone that's like been calling the respawns globally, but I'm telling my group because that respawn timer that is on the website is slightly off, and you have to like refresh it constantly. So this is the more accurate respawn timer.
Spawns in 1, spawns now.
Good shit. We're fucking cleaning them in hell. Focus on top left.
It's only off by a few seconds, but those few seconds can be the difference between wasting abilities and people getting short spawn, or putting them on long spawns and having the opportunity to win.
Head out to the center of the point there if you can. I'm out now.
So here, you see, this is what supple does really well. might talk about defensive strategies at some point. I'm trying to gear it towards like newer people, so I feel like if that's a kind of a not something I want to talk about right away because that will just help people that are defending it better. But controlling these gates is like one of the most important things for defense in general. It's like these are all choke points. You want to keep people in choke points as long as possible. You see, positionally, I'm like away from everyone, but close enough to get my abilities in. I'm always jumping, and I'm trying to play it like in that spot where no one is. Like, I'm not in a good spot right now. Now I'm in a good spot. Like they don't. If they chase me here, that's fine.
They're staging a repair on B.
And also, if they chase me there, they're fighting out of their sacred, which means my damage is no longer pad. It's actually value. Like it's actually actual pressure, even though VG doesn't have a lot of pressure. So I can like play zone control and put my ice shower, ice storm down here, my oblivion down here, and be like, hey, you don't want to fight me. You're gonna be fighting my oblivion and storm and take damage. You're gonna have to pot for. So, like, basically, I'm just trying to make myself as annoying of a target to go for as possible. Because I am squishy and I can die, but I'm trying to be annoying.
What's our respawn?
So we realize we're ticking, so I'm trying to check the respawns, because it's important to save your abilities for those respawns. So the respawns, I think, just went out, so I'm, like, worried about the crash now, and I still have this ice shower up. So I'm trying to, like, save abilities.
Showering top point, dropping a bliv.
So I dropped that there because I think the respawns will come through here. We're half tick, so I know they're going to be crashing.
Look point, look point, look point, look point.
If they crash through this way, these are the most common ways for people to crash. Supple really likes to control this like top area, which we realized later on, but we still were able to win this war before really realizing that. So like a shower here would have been much better. Shower here would have been much better. The shower's okay, but people won't come down this way. They'll like wrap the point and then go through the sides. Which is where someone else drops their shower because they're better than me, and then I drop the storm on top of that.
They have to dive, they have to crash, they have to crash.
This is why being Dedi point is IGVG's trolls fuck.
Look at point, they're getting on, punish them. They're getting
I have
eliminated.
full shirking fort, full Brazil, and I die that fast.
Too many of you in hell. Look at point.
If I run 250, I will also die that fast. 250 con.
15 seconds on respawn. 15 seconds on respawn. Hey, yo, listen. Everybody that's alive before, drag them to the right side. I want every fucking person that's dead on this wave to spawn left flag for me. Drag them to the right side.
And that's why also respawn control is really, really important. Because they can, the melees can do that to me, they can do it to anyone else. And also the decks can shoot me while the melees are going. It's like, it's just the nature of like how you have to play this role and why this role isn't as good, I think, as IGBB and Heavy.
I want you guys to crash in. This left turn. This on kills in this left turn. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold kills.
Look for kills, look for kills.
So now I'm like trying to save the tick because we had the tick, but we lost it. And I think we could still get the point pressure, so I'm trying to play on point.
Kill anyone.
We're in a weird spot where the center of the point right now is safer than the sides, so that's why I'm in the center.
But let go.
Now I see that this side is safer, and I'd rather be here because then I could actually get out of the point if I need to, too. I don't want to be trapped. If I'm trapped, it's a little scary. An IGBB, I don't mind being trapped. An IGVG, it's scary to be trapped, which is why I would prefer to be on the edge, but then at that point, am I really a Dedi point? It's like, I don't know. But this is like how I have to play to live consistently.
We can take here. One's respawn.
And then if living is value, so it's like, I think it's worth it overall, but it's annoying. So let's say respawns just went out, I call that in global comms, I have like push to talk is push to mute or whatever, and I call that out. And so that everyone's starting looking at respawns, dropping their showers and stuff like that.
Coming down. Fight these clumps together.
I drop that shower because I see them running through this way, which is not as common, and then I shower that so that they buy more time for us to like absorb their pressure before they get to point. When people spawn, they have all their cooldowns, they're going to pop them immediately generally. So it's just about trying to get them to waste their cooldowns early enough to where they don't just instantly wipe you.
Win these fights and we win.
You see me iframe there? I iframe to go to the gray bar specifically because that guy dropped nades on me, and nades would have like basically one-shot me.
They're getting on, no point.
There's a lot of like stamina stuff there. I could try to break it down. I haven't been breaking it down, so I could like break down like the little tiny thing here. That's probably a little too slow. So here I get hit, I see the grav walls there after I get hit, so I'm dodging to try to dodge this guy's blunderbuss shots, because that blunderbuss shot just did like a quarter of my health roughly. And I'm like really nervous about this popping me below half and then just getting one shot by this guy again. So I'm trying to get away from this and create distance while also dodging the next shot, which is why I iframe. Here, I iframed again because I was like worried about him. In hindsight, that would probably been a better opportunity to jump instead of iframe, and doing a jump into doing a jump or an iframe into a jump is generally better than doing a double iframe. Then I'm popping a cleanse pot so that if I have disease on me, which I'm not sure if I have because I can't look at this and them at the same time, so that my pots will actually be effective and heal me. And then I'm popping a regen pot early because I know I'm going to be going in. I get hit by a fireball, so now I'm below half HP. My healer's not healing me, he's just focusing on point at this point. I forget who's my healer in this group. But I still have my health pot, so I should be able to pop that in a second. I dropped the shower to try to prevent people from getting out of the clump. I dropped the storm in the shower to gen my shower back faster and also gen the ice tomb back faster. And then I'm looking up here, I see this giant clump. I'm thinking this is probably worth trading my life for even if I don't have my tomb up, so I'm just going for it. So I go in there, hit the scream, that scream hits 3 or 4 people, this guy's going immediately with his warhammer, which means I could strip their debuffs and then apply the red, and we could hope that we could burst them in time before they could put their cleanse spot up. So he's able to hit that because they've been staggered by the scream. It's not the root itself, it's the stagger. And then this guy dies for it. And then these other guys are low, and then they have the iframe. A couple of them pop in a tomb. It's like really, really good value from us. This guy has to get out. So if I had a shower here, this guy would have died, but I didn't have a shower here, so this guy lives. So that's why I like showering at the edge of the clumps more than in the clumps, because in the clump they'll be able to charge out like this. On the edge of the clump, they'll charge out into my shower and just get wiped. This is also another reason why BB is good, because a BB, you see that guy run out, you just shoot him, he's dead. I pop my cleanse pot because I'm like really low again, and then I'm gonna move this back to normal. So it's just like that little tiny stuff. Like I never gray barred that entire time till now, and this is honestly a bad gray bar. But it's like that's like the level that you have to be able to play Dedi point. It's like you have to be really, really specific when you gray bar, when you don't gray bar, how you use your abilities to live. And you're also playing for your abilities. Like if I have my ice tomb now, if I didn't use that storm in my ice shower, I wouldn't have my ice tomb. Then I would have to play safer. So this is juicy. This is like a 3-man that if I get the scream off, they all die. Unfortunately, I miss it. I'm in a weird spot where I'm stuck on a melee. If I'm stuck on a melee, they're going to want to hit the melee, so I'm going to get shot, and I don't want to be shot. So I'm trying to split up. Unfortunately, I just get comboed. That was a mistake because I iframed too close to my melee, I believe. I'll go back and watch that one. Like, how did I end up this close to a melee? So this is like a opportunity where it's like, why do you die here? And like every death's really important, because at the end of the day, the less you die, the more you can do. If you're alive, you're generally getting value. If you're dead, you can't get any value. So it's better to play life than it is in most cases. But if you're inting and trading for like 5 people, it's worth it. It's also different when you have spawn advantage. So I just iframed from that into the grav wall, which is thrown at him, and then the BB comboed me with that. So it's just kind of unlucky. But it could have been prevented if I like went to the staircase, the iframe, rather than towards my team.
Listen, it's
The rest of the war. Respawns in 10. So I'm global calling the respawns again because it's more accurate.
I've got it. 10
And
seconds on respawn.
Ashley, I believe, has global comps. I'm calling to Ashley, Ashley's calling to everyone. It's like how
Everybody's
that's working.
spawning at balance. Spawn now. Spawn at balance. If you're inside the fort right now, you guys don't have numbers.
Calling to spawn like at your actual points, not spawn through B. B is my point, so I spawn there. You can see that too many people are going through B. It's getting boggled up. That's why you want to generally spawn at A and C when it's contested like this.
Kills here are impactful. I'm popping cleanse. I'm pushing through B gate right now. I'm pushing through B gate right now. We should be able to get up into them. Yeah, exactly. Just fucking walk.
And I'm gonna put this back to 1 times. So this is, I'm just trying to prevent them from getting out, keep them in a choke where they take damage. It's like a small playmaking opportunity.
Spawns
Usually you play off your melee as a Dedi. You kind of have to play to create plays sometimes, because you don't like necessarily have a melee. Like Ashy is I think he was IGBB for this war. I'm not sure what spec Dex Demon's in, because he's in 5. He has like 20 different specs, and I don't understand it. And then this guy's a healer, and this guy's a healer.
They're like out A.
So I don't have a melee to play off of necessarily.
A needs to get through. A, get through. A needs to get off.
So we realize A is free, Dex Demon's calling that, people are running through here, people are running through here, C is bottled up.
A, get through.
Kills here are big. Kills here are big. Look at our side right. Look at our side right.
I'm playing really loose because we don't have the opportunity to do much, but I can see we can tick, and we're starting to tick, so which is why I'm on point.
I'm out now.
Now we don't have the opportunity to tick, so I can get off a point, but I unfortunately encountered a group of 5 people because I got on point a little bit too early. So now I have to pop tomb. I got caught. They knocked me out of my scream. I screamed there to get the 30% fortify, which is like really, really a small thing and might not be worth it, but I think was. And I don't have any pots, which is why I go for this too. If I had pots, I would have went for a cleanse pot into a health pot or cleanse pot. In hindsight, my regen pot should be on cooldown. I don't know why it's not. Like this, if I had that regen pot up, I would have been like probably to here with my HP bar. It would have been a lot easier. That BB sees me leaving, so he's trying to kill me. Same with that IG. I'm like playing life, but still being able to be in the club, and this is why I can play Dedi point and why other people can't. Like I think 9 out of 10 people would have died by now, but I'm living just because I'm like juggling the getting staggered twice into a dodge, which puts you a little bit further away, and just the iframe stam usage in general. Like I got screamed 3 times here, shot by like about 10 different people, and still was able to live. So this is like a really good play. Here I'm eating to get my. By eating, I mean refreshing harvest. It looks like you're eating yourself for some reason. And then I'm trying to get my screen back up and my orb back up so that I can do my combo again.
Come on, just one out.
Unfortunately, the eat into auto thing, if you tap it twice, like your auto twice, it will queue the next auto now, which is not ideal, so you have to be like really, really careful about eating into one auto. You could just eat into dodge or eat into nothing and then eat. I like the auto because it's a little bit more CDR. Here, giant clump, that's a 3-man scream. All these guys are diseased right now. You see that guy going to tomb, this guy's popping every pot he has. Langod's just chilling because he's sword and shield and he's got a funny build. That's another huge scream.
It's 22 seconds, bud. You got time. You got time. You gotta get killed. 20 seconds, alright? Hey, listen. Good job. Good job. 15.
So there's no way to win here at this point. I'm not sure why I'm on point. I probably should have left point by now, and I'll probably die for it. Lengod just forced most of my stamina. I'm still in here for some reason. I'm playing too much on a point, I think, right now. I think I realized that by now, and I'm trying to get away. And I'm mostly hopping to avoid being slowed. I end up in a really weird spot, though. And that's... So, if I'm really smart, I realize that the respawns are coming up. I need to make it through here before the respawns happen, and I go sooner. I timed this horribly because I ended up there when the respawns are happening, so I just die. But now I can call the respawns accurately, and we shouldn't have been able to win that early anyways because respawns are only 30 seconds. So I'm calling respawns at 20, so everyone in the army knows we have 20 seconds basically to win before the next respawn wave happens. We say we're ticking very fast, so I'm global calming this because it's very, very important info. Spawns in 10. Spawns in 5. Spawns in 3, 2, 1. Spawns are now, spawns are now. So we had the opportunity to win there. You saw the tick slowed, so that means their respawns are going to be able to recontest, and our respawns are going to be able to recontest, so we got another fight, basically. I'm dropping all my damn... I'm going to move that back. That was way too fast. You learn when to double times VODs and when to 1.5 and when to 0.5. You just want to look at the important decisions, basically. So I'm dropping a storm to put myself in ice into an iframe into the tomb to gen my other cooldowns backer faster, and I needed the tomb anyway, so that was like good value. I see a big clump up here, easy oblivion. That oblivion kills like 2 to 3 people or forces a lot of cooldowns. This is a supple thing where they all like to congregate over here on B every time the point's being ticked. And it's very, very strong, prevents people from recontesting, which is why you want to get through A and C when this happens, and why armies should be not just looking up here, but also turning and nuking the bottom of the point. There's like a group of 10 people just down here that I can't necessarily go into because I don't have melee, so at that point I'm just kind of trolling with my damage. And because they're able to be here for free, they're able to hit us for free as well. I'm showering to try to prevent people from getting in. Hindsight, that's kind of a wasted shower, but it's good to use those. No, everyone on! I'm calling like everyone on, everyone on. No, everyone on!
And that's just global comp because I realized we're so close and their respawns just happened, so they have like we have about 5 seconds to win.
maybe 10. I think it's like about 5 before they can get here because no one's ice showered this area.
On, everyone on.
You see all the respawns right there. You see all the respawns up here,
On.
and we get it before they get in. So that global comm right there, like, won us the war, but it's like that small of a thing. Like that's how big the gap was to beat Supple. And why they're so good.
Let's go.
Like I don't think I played
Good job,
terrific,
Lucy.
but for the
Shit, man.
being
Holy
Dedi point
fuck,
as
bro. I
IGBG,
didn't
this
even
is
get
a pretty good
touched.
game.
I know.
This is definitely longer. It's a 45-minute upload, but I think this is like the idea as like this VOD's 25 minutes, right? Maybe it's 20 minutes if I take out the beginning. I think I actually put it in here. No, I didn't put it in the time. Let me see real quick how long that took us. So that took us about 20 minutes to beat Supple. So, and we got into fort, I believe, with like 25. Let me see that. So these are just like references, right? Like if you can't, like we got Supple into fort that fast. We're able to get Supple into fort that fast. If you're not able to get like DG on West, which is not as strong as DG on East into fort that fast, or something along those lines, or like whatever the big company is on your server, then you're probably not gonna be able to win the war because we're like barely able to win that war at that window. But we just got into that 10-minute mark where it was actually possible to win a war because Supple had 40-second respawns. And that's not loading, but I'm assuming we got into fort with a decent amount of time, like above that 20-minute mark. But yeah, that's what you're looking at in terms of like VODs. You're trying to basically take a lot of notes from this. Like if I were to take a few things away from this, if I was taking more careful notes, I'd probably be more specific. But in general, it's like the being too close to the melees is the main thing that's killed me. And there were also a decent amount of times where I died because it wasn't popping my regen pod off cooldown. And then if I would have had that regen pod, it would have kept me up longer. And then there are a few other times where it was just like by the nature of playing the role that there was not much of a chance to live in those situations. I think my ice shower usage was like not the best, but it was okay. But overall, it was like a fairly decent VOD. So yeah, that would be an example of doing a VOD review though. And like this is like a thing that we would post 50 of these, and we would go through like till like 2 or 3 in the morning after every war. So it's like people like hate on the bigger companies, but the bigger companies like definitely just try harder than other companies, and that's why they're good, right? It's like people are VOD reviewing every single war, trying to get better after every war. Like as much as we VODed, like we would VOD till 3 in the morning. People that were in Supple's Discord and that they like knew they'd be in that VOD like channel till like 5 a.m. after every war. Like people were just like that try hard. It's definitely less tryhard on other servers, but this is just like two companies that wanted to claim that they were the best on the U.S. server to go at it. So, and that's kind of what it takes.
I literally feel immortal on this account.
Like stat wise,
Yeah,
it's
Lucy,
okay assists. Like they out assist us by a decent amount, but this is a lot closer than it normally is. Like Supple normally 2s to 3 assists gaps us. I die a lot, so I don't get as many assists as these other people. But for playing Dedi Point, this is a pretty good war. And
what?
yeah, let me know if you guys have questions of like how to do a VOD review, but you definitely don't have to go this much in depth for most people. Usually you just need 1 or 2 things, right? So I could have gone through like 5 minutes of this and picked out 1 or 2 things and then just gone with that. Especially if you're getting like, if you're not getting any points, you literally only have to spend like 5 to 10 minutes to figure out what your problem is, and then you just go from there. And it's just like taking one step at a time, improving on one thing at a time, and eventually you get pretty good. And yeah.